All right, so good morning. This morning it is cold. Not raining today. So this long run we'll see how it goes. All right. So about 8 miles in, the sun has started coming up. As you can see, it's coming through the trees. It's a beautiful morning. Freezing cold. A few more miles to go, and let's get this. Welcome back to the Accountability Project, where we condense the pain of personal growth and development, where we develop accountability for ourselves in the 4 areas of life that we talk about often: faith, family, fitness, and finance. So today, we're going to talk about our book report a little bit. Science of Success. Today's chapter was about humility. And it's such a fun topic because you can't talk about being humble, because then you wouldn't be humble. So I'm going to talk about what humility, or what being humble is. So to me, being humble, and in the context of this book, humility is being willing to admit when you're wrong. And when you're right, being willing to give someone else credit. So humility is about wanting the result, not the credit. Because if you're trying to just get something done, get a result to happen, humility is not caring about who gets the credit. Now, is getting credit for things that you have done awesome? Yes. Yes, that is awesome. It feels great. But someone who's humble wants what's right to happen, regardless of whether or not they get credit. And that is such a beautiful thought or concept. And having that level of humility helps build relationship. It helps build connection. And because you're able to build more relationships and connections, you're able to go further in life. Especially because if you're the kind of person who gives credit for success to someone else, more people want to help you be successful. If you're the person who takes the blame or takes the credit when things go sideways, people want to rally behind you because they know that you're going to own and take responsibility for when things go sour. So yes, really love this chapter, even though it was short. It's very powerful. Next up, the power of the other. So this chapter is a little bit longer, but there's a ton of information in this chapter. And he starts to break down kind of, the previous chapter was relationships. This one is kind of connections, right? So that there's you can have relationships without necessarily having a connection. He said to think of it as if you were a cell phone and you come in on a plane landing, and you turn your phone back on, for the first couple minutes, it's going to say searching, right? It's trying to find a connection. It's trying to find a network to connect to. And then once you connect to a network, then your phone starts blowing up with everything that happened while you were gone. But what he talks about is that there's 4 types of connections. 4 types. One is disconnected. Like you're just searching for a connection and you never actually connect. So you're disconnected. And when you're dealing with a disconnected leader, it's very painful. It's very struggle because they're not actually listening. They're not connecting. They're not hearing anyone else. If you are that person, you feel like everything has to be done by you, and you're not actually developing any meaningful relationships, and you're really just looking for the yes men, and you're not actually developing any actual connection to a network. You're flapping in the wind. You're costing money, and your time in your leadership position is probably limited. The next is a poor connection. And I don't think anyone, and he talks about this, I don't think anyone intentionally seeks out a poor connection. And this can be two things, either a connection with someone who is toxic or abusive or whatever, but it can also just mean that you're not actually clearly connecting. So that you're maybe stutter starting, or you have a connection that is not genuine or is based around flattery. So you're in the wrong connection, right? So the connection that you're getting isn't clear. It's not, yeah, it's a poor connection or a negative connection or something like that. And then the third is a positive feeling connection. So it's not necessarily a good connection, but it's a connection that feels good. And oftentimes this is a connection in some form of addiction, typically, whether that's addiction in a relationship with a person, or addiction in a relationship with something such as drugs, alcohol, pornography, retail therapy, inappropriateness, even just using internet surfing as a fishing, golfing, hunting. You can take anything that is supposed to enhance life and treat it as an addiction if you start using that as a coping mechanism for a stressor. That can become a not so great place to be. And so really the question is, what's left and how do we get there? And that's what the next chapter is gonna talk about, hopefully, is the fourth type of connection, which is the quality connection. So we will be talking about that tomorrow. Today has been an awesome day. Did 12-mile run this morning. My legs are still a little wobbly. So that means next week I will be doing my first half marathon, 13.1, and I will be traveling. So I'll actually be doing that in the DC metro area. So I'm gonna take some time over the next week to figure out what route I'm gonna run. But stay posted for that, because the venue is going to change. Yay. With that, I love you. I appreciate you. Continue to condense the pain of personal growth. And as always, stay accountable. Bloop.